Well, Governor DeSantis is bringing back an idea that he has floated before, talking about rounding up migrants or immigrants and sending them to President Biden's home state of Delaware. He made those remarks during a news conference earlier this week. Now, so far, the president has not commented, but if it sounds familiar, this was also talked about by Texas Governor Greg Abbott last week. And joining us this morning to talk more about it is immigration law attorney John Gihon. Always great to have you, John. How are you?
Doing well, Amy. Thank you.
So this is a hot topic, right? Very controversial. A lot of people feel very strongly about illegal immigration and how people cross the border. So when you hear stories like this about, where we should put the people who come across the border, what are your thoughts there?
Well, Governor DeSantis' idea of people just being dropped into Florida unwillingly and with no connection to Florida whatsoever, it doesn't really happen. So when people cross the southern border, some do it legally, some do it irregularly, and then oftentimes they're held by our federal government until they can prove that, listen, if you let me out, I have a place to go, I have some family, I know where I'm going to go, and I'm going to come back to court. So people who come to Florida, for the most part, from the southern border have ties to Florida, and they want to be here.
So when he talks about sort of redistributing, right, and I think what happens is that I think that people get concerned, like, that if we get an influx here, where do we put them? Where do they live? Where will they work? And so there is that concern that it becomes overwhelming to some states, especially border states, right, Arizona, Texas, right, because most of the people who come across will stay in those states. Where should they go? How do you handle the influx? And we keep talking about this May deadline of when those COVID restrictions go away, that there will be this big influx. Is that a concern?
Well, it is a concern because we can't detain every single person who comes across the southern border. We simply don't have the facilities or the political or financial will to do that. And so we have to let people out who we know are going to come back to court. And the best way that we can make sure that they, when they get out, that they come back is that we prove that they have ties to the community. So people come to Florida and they will assimilate into Florida, into our infrastructures, and they will go to our schools and they will find jobs and that sort of thing. And so it's not as huge a concern, obviously, in the state of Florida as it is in Texas. And so the federal government has the authority to kind of redistribute people throughout the United States to areas where they can handle them. The states don't have the authority to take people out of their state and send them somewhere else.
Let's talk about the difference sort of between an illegal immigrant versus a refugee, right? Because there are different statuses of people who come across the border. We know that there are people from the Ukraine who are coming into Mexico and hoping to come into the U.S. that way. Right. How are all those situations handled? It seems overwhelming.
It is absolutely overwhelming because we have so many people who want to come to the United States. This is the greatest country in the history of the world, and so most of the world would love to live here. So the people who are crossing the southern border, it's not illegal to walk up to the border and say, listen, I'm from the Ukraine, you know what's going on there, please let me in and apply for asylum. Let me prove that I'm a refugee. That's completely legal, and we let certain numbers of people every single day into the United States to do that. Then there's other people who cross irregularly, don't have a fear of living in their home country. They just want to come to the United States for a better life. And those are the individuals who are here in violation of our immigration laws. And that's a little bit more difficult to deal with.
And that's the challenge that we talk about, because there are people who say there are ways to come into the country legally. Do we make that process too challenging? Is that why people just cross the river?
Yes, our lawful immigration system is completely antiquated, and it's extremely limiting the amount of people who can come into the United States legally. And so people say, I'm not going to wait in line. It's going to take 20 years for me to come over here to the United States legally, so I'm just going to come over in a fashion that's not necessarily legal. And so that's why we have so many people doing it. But again, it's not illegal to walk up to the border, any border, and say, I want asylum. I want to be in the United States because I'm afraid to go home. We see that all the time with Venezuelans and Cubans and Ukrainians. And so our system is designed to handle that, just not in the vast numbers that we have regularly dealing with that now.
I'm sure we're going to have you back to talk about the situation in May, because it is going to be really interesting to see how it goes. But always great to talk to you. Thanks for your expertise. Always, John Gihon,
anytime,
immigration attorney. All right, 8:19 right now.